Ladies and gentlemen, hello and good afternoon. Welcome to today's daily Lunch and Learn webinar. My name is Emma Jones. I am founder of Enterprise Nation, and I'm going to give people a moment to come in because at this point, I am normally introducing a guest who is joining us for Lunch and Learn. But today, my wonderful small business owners, you have me. So lovely to see you here. I'm actually presenting today's Lunch and Learn, and I will tell you in a moment about the topic of it. But first of all, my usual reminder, whether there's a guest or otherwise, that if you're new to Lunch and Learn, the format is we have 30 minutes together. The session is recorded and will be uploaded to Enterprise Nation later on today. But if you have questions for the content that I'm covering, please do pop them in the chat panel or indeed in the Q&A, and I'll make sure that I have a look at those. And if you want to say hello to me in the chat, that would be lovely too. So I'm going to talk for about 20. Oh, hello. Oh, Lee, sorry, I shouldn't really be distracted by this. Your oldest and staunch supporter. Thank you so much. Bless you. Well, Happy New Year. Hello, Jasmine. You're new. Lovely. Welcome. So lovely. Sorry, I shouldn't get too distracted by all the hellos, but lovely to see you all here. And yes, Happy New Year to 2025, which brings me on to the topic of today's daily Lunch and Learn, which is how to stay positive and in profit across 2025. And the reason that I asked Katrina, who's backstage today, who runs our Lunch and Learn series, I asked her if I could have this slot because I am very aware that small businesses have had a tough few years. Hopefully you feel we've been with you throughout, but we had Brexit, we had lockdown, we've had cost of trading challenges. And so throughout all of this, it's been such a rough and tumble time. And I've always been really passionate that we try and ensure that Enterprise Nation is a positive place for small businesses to come, to meet each other, to kind of boost your inspiration and your confidence, but also, of course, to give you practical tips on how to keep making money, to keep trading and to stay in business. So I wanted to kick off the year, even though there was a Lunch and Learn yesterday, so I didn't quite pip to the post in terms of being the first one to present, but I wanted to run through some thoughts that I've put together for you that hopefully will help throughout the year. So Katrina, if you're happy to go on to the next slide, for those of you who are new to Enterprise Nation, so I saw in the chat that there is someone new. Hello from Croydon. Love to see you here. Introduction to Enterprise Nation. Of course, I'm very biased. It's a business I started a long time ago, so very passionate and still fired up about what we do. So we offer a platform, enterprisenation.com. This year, and actually you're probably the first people to hear this publicly, this year we have a target to welcome 1 million small businesses to our platform. So our amazing marketing and community team, last year we ended the year having supported just over 940,000 small businesses who'd come on to enterprisenation.com. So this year we're working really hard to see if we can get that support up to 1 million. We operate in the UK and Ireland. So in fact, if you're here today from Ireland, a warm welcome to you as well. So we have enterprisenation.com, the platform. We run programs with funding from amazing partners. I've got the presentation scattered with some images of some of the programs we run. So with the likes of Uber, Adobe, MasterCard, Dell, Vodafone, Google, we run lots of programs that hopefully help you do things like embrace digital technologies, raise money, go global, and so lots more programs to come this year. We run lots of events. So of course, Lunch and Learn is our daily one. And again, I feel as if I'm with trusted friends today. So you may know the background, but Lunch and Learn, we first launched in lockdown. So I remember we were all at homes. And I said to the team, why don't we just put something on every day at midday, which helps our community have a sense of routine. So kind of, you know, that you're working and then at midday you kind of log in, but also hopefully helps with information. So we launched in 2020, and of course, 8th of January 2025 today, we're still going. So just under 5 years, these events have run every working weekday. So it's a lovely events programme that our community, I think, still really enjoy. And we see that day in, day out with the attendee numbers. But we run in-person events, and we have a big one coming up on the 25th of January called the Startup Show. It makes me feel very old mentioning all of these years, but the Startup Show goes into its 11th year. So will be the 11th time we've run it on the 25th of Jan, and we'll have over 1,000 startups at an amazing location in London called Paternoster Square. So lots of events that we run that, again, hopefully keep you informed and inspired throughout the year. And we work very closely with government to enable government to run small business support programmes through our platform. And a couple at the moment, Help to Grow Management, which again, I'll reference actually as we run through the slides, but also we run a platform for London-based businesses called Grow London Local, with an amazing organisation called London and Partners. So that's a little bit about Enterprise Nation if you didn't know us. But Katrina, on to the next slide, which is the focus of today's content. So, my lovely audience, I've come up with a concept for you called Bright Business. So this is all about how you stay positive and in profit. And so I've broken that down in terms of, well, as you can see, it spells bright. Forgive the naffness of this. And so what I want to run through is the importance of having a business plan, generating revenue, possibly my most favourite topic in the whole world of small business. Innovation, we'll have a chat about. Growth, where I'll focus on how you raise and manage money. Health, so how you kind of stay mentally and bodily in a good state, which of course helps you run a successful business, and then how you can leverage tech and talent to stay in profit. So I'm going to keep an eye on the time, and as I say, I'm going to try and leave 5 minutes at the end for some questions, so do pop them into the chat or the Q&A box. Okay, so Katrina, should we talk about business planning, which is the next slide? So there is still debate, I think, in the small business world of what is the point of having a business plan. I've heard many small business owners say to me, oh, I'm not going to write a business plan because by the time I've written it, it's going to be changing circumstances, a different environment. So what's the point? And I have to say, and forgive me if you've heard me speak before, because I've been saying the same thing for over a decade. But I do believe in the power of having a plan for your business. We talk at Enterprise Nation about a plan being like your route map. So you're saying, this is where my business is now, this is where I want to take my business, and these are the steps that I need to take to get there. And without that plan, you might be a little bit directionless. So this is why I do believe that having a plan helps. So what to put in a plan? And again, for those of you who know us, for many years, we've been advising startups to build a business plan that spells I'm off, which is your idea, your market, your operations, your finances, and your friends. But that's kind of not necessarily a subject for today. But what I have shared today, and you can see this on as the table on the slide, is this is how Enterprise Nation does our own business planning. So, of course, everything that we suggest for our community, we are going through ourselves as a business. We are a small business, team of 45 people. So we go through the same things that you're going through, and indeed that you will go through as you grow. So this is how we plan. So Enterprise Nation for 2025, we signed off our 2025 business plan pretty much in kind of October, November 2024. And the way in which we keep ourselves accountable is we have these 4 key pillars across the business. So we have our finances. So essentially underneath this part of the plan, we look and say, right, what revenue have we delivered? So in this instance, what revenue have we delivered in 2024? What is our target revenue for 2025? As a business owner, you may have heard the phrase that turnover is vanity, but profit is sanity. So, of course, we also look at our target profit. So we look at what's our target revenue, for the year ahead. And of course, you can do this on a 12, 15, 18 month, whatever kind of time planning you want to do. So what your target revenue is, less of course your costs of operation, and also include your target profit. What that encourages you to do as a business, and I should say, if you are tuned into this event and you're a sole founder, I still think this is relevant to do whether you have a team or don't have a team. But what this encourages you to do when you're looking at your revenue and your profit is to then determine your ideal client profile. So if you're saying this is the turnover and the profit we'd like to deliver in 2025, it then encourages you to think, well, where am I going to get that revenue from? Then you start to map out who are our ideal clients, what are we selling to them? And I'll come on to this in a moment. How do we keep them happy and coming back for more? So for me, I think finance leads a business in terms of without that finance function, you're kind of a little bit on shaky ground. So first pillar, look at your revenue, your target profit, and who your ideal client profile is. And this is going in your plan. Then this, as I say, this is what works for Enterprise Nation. We then look at our clients and community. So this is essentially around, are we keeping our stakeholders, our paying clients, our community? Are we delivering value to them and keeping them happy enough that they come back for more? So pretty much this kind of pillar is all around making sure that your product or service is right, is keeping updated, is offering value, is delivering what the customer is paying for. So that's kind of your whole pillar essentially around your product or your service. As a business, you want to deliver this with operational excellence, and there's kind of lots of work around productivity. We'll talk about productivity in a moment. But this third pillar is how do you deliver these first two boxes? How do you deliver your money? How do you deliver great client service and a great product? And how do you do that in a way that makes the most effective use of your time? And I do think that technology, embracing digital tools can really help with this. And again, we'll come on to that in a moment. As your business grows, and actually the biggest growing pains that Enterprise Nation ever faced is when we grew as a business, you have to start introducing processes like policies and health and safety plans. And that can create tension because you're growing as a company, you're introducing processes as you go through. But of course, once you've done it, you work smarter as a business because people know the frameworks in which they're working. So you know the revenue you want to deliver, you know your profit margins, you know who your clients are, you know you're delivering value to your clients, so they hopefully keep returning. You know that you can do that with decent operations that are working really well. And then the final pillar, and this goes back to whether you're a sole trader or have a team, is the people with whom you surround yourself. So of course, if you do have employees, this is around how you hire and retain the best talent. This can be very challenging for founders. We're all working in a very hybrid environment at the moment. I know it's something I think of virtually every day is Enterprise Nation doing the right thing to keep our team happy when we don't see each other that much. So this is kind of almost kind of like a constant thing that you'll be considering as a founder. Are you hiring the right people? Are you keeping the right people? Are you offering development opportunities to your team? If you don't have a team, this people pillar still relates to you because it can relate to the advisors that you have surrounding you and giving you support. So if it is you're a sole founder, your people pillar is essentially how do you find the experts who are good at the things where you need help? So if you have these four pillars, you know what your financial targets are, you know who your clients are, you know that you're going to give them good service, you know that you can do this effectively, and you know who is going to help you do this. In summary, that's what you're looking at in the form of a business plan. So if you don't have one for 2025, I would suggest that having one is a great idea. And then, of course, what you want to do once you've written it is refresh it. I tend to try and get away each quarter and just make sure that we're on track with the business plan that we're delivering. And so, of course, then you've got 4 reviews over the space of a year. So that is the B of having a bright business in terms of business planning. Katrina, onto the R, which is revenue. And I mentioned at the outset that this is probably my favourite specialist subject within small business, which is how do you generate revenue? So how can you have decent income coming into your business? So some thoughts on this for 2025. I know many businesses have struggled in terms of those challenges I mentioned at the outset of the webinar with Brexit. So many small businesses put EU trade on hold. The cost of trading challenge meant that many people who had got physical premises really struggled with the cost of energy, hospitality talent, etc. However, I do feel confident that 2025 will be a good year for revenue generation. So some thoughts on this. I do feel that kind of the number one item for any small business is, can you go deeper with your existing customers? You will have heard this many times, that it is cheaper to keep your existing customers happy rather than attracting new ones in. So back to that kind of what you've written in your business plan, how can you ensure that your product or service is so good that it's keeping your existing customers happy and hopefully returning to keep on paying you many times? So have a think about, and again, January is the perfect time to do it. If your business is a service business where maybe you've got a roster of 20 to 30 clients, you can literally do an exercise in terms of just reaching out to them. Happy New Year. Have we delivered great service for you? Is there anything better we can do in 2025? Of course, if you're selling a product which is going out to mass market, you've hopefully built a community around your product, so you can still do the same thing. Leverage your community channels, reach out to your community to get that sense of any improvements that you could make. So when it comes to securing new customers, so you're hopefully delivering great service, your existing customers are buying more, but of course, can you go out and secure new customers? So on this point, a few thoughts for you. If you haven't embraced them, do think about selling what you have on the trading platforms. Sorry, there's a noise that's just started outside, so I hope that's not offering too much of a distraction. But the trading platforms, anything from Amazon, of course, if you're selling physical products, but also if you're selling business services, LinkedIn, if you're into photography, iStock, which is a great sales platform. These are great ways through which you can reach new customers, because of course the job of the platforms is to attract the customers to you. Social commerce, we work very closely with TikTok, and we are seeing amazing results from young brands launching on TikTok shops. In fact, I mentioned the startup show. We've got a whole session on how to sell successfully on TikTok that's coming up at the show. So lots of opportunity to promote what you do, but also sell what you do on the likes of Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc. Selling into retail, I think, will be a bigger thing again in 2025. And what I mean by that is, again, this is more product-based, is pitching in to the likes of Boots, Selfridges, the Co-op. And these big brands are quite often looking for new and innovative startups. You may have seen, and we cover all of these stories on Enterprise Nation, but the Co-op launched a new incubator in 2024, maybe end of 2023, where they onboard new brands who then get stocked in the Co-op, and essentially they help you through the process of getting stocked. Boots, with whom we've worked for years, again, are very active in this space, looking for new beauty and wellness brands that they put on new aisles to test new products. We could do a whole lunch and learn on how to pitch to retail buyers, but actually there's so much information on this on Enterprise Nation, just because it's been a big topic we've covered for a number of years. So if you're looking for top tips on how to pitch to buyers, do find content on the platform. Another thing, which actually we will do lunch and learns dedicated events on, is selling into the public sector. So very brief, I've got my eye on the time. You can see an image here of the Procurement Act, So this is something that's coming into effect next month. So from February, there's a new piece of legislation coming into the UK called the Procurement Act, which essentially will make it easier for small businesses to sell to central government. And again, Enterprise Nation, we're doing lots and lots of work in this area, where essentially we're trying to connect SMEs who want to sell to government, but connecting them to what are called government's strategic suppliers. So the big corporates, who of course have got lots of people to be able to write tenders, to deal with contracts when they're won. These big corporates are increasingly being asked to increase the number of SMEs in their own supply chain. So we've written quite a lot about this. If, for instance, you sell food and drink, there's a company called Sodexo who wins billions of pounds worth of work with the government. So could you sell to Sodexo, who then sell on to the government? If you are in the digital space, we've done lots of work with Deloitte Digital, who again win big contracts with government, but they are looking for small businesses to build into their own supply chain. So we think this will be a big opportunity for small business in 2025. And again, we've written on the platform around how you go about even starting looking for contracts, connecting with strategic suppliers. Selling overseas, I am pretty optimistic that international trade volumes amongst small businesses will come back in 2025. The UK as a country, we're signing trade deals with emerging markets. And actually, that's my main advice there, is almost follow the trade deals. So every trade deal that our government signs with a country has in it what's called an SME chapter. So this is the part of the deal which should enable more SME trade. Have a look at those. I would also say look at UK Export Finance. This is the government's arm of giving money to small businesses to export. And in mid-2024, they stated an aim to hugely increase the amount of money they were lending to small businesses in order to export. They will also be at the Startup Show, actually. So if you're coming, do have a chat with them. And then pop-up and activations. We're watching with interest the new government. They've introduced something called empty shop orders. And we think it will make it easier for small businesses who see empty shops on your high street, and lots of us do, sadly. But you will be able to form a community to take over that shop if it's been empty for a certain amount of time. And what we hope is that this means more small businesses will come together, pop up in that space to be able to do test trading. I'm actually working in Ramsgate, which is a beautiful seaside town in Kent, where I'm part of a new community interest company called Ramsgate Space. And this is exactly what we're working on, taking empty shops, taking empty spaces and filling them with local small businesses to give them an opportunity to test trade. So on to the I in our Bright Business Please Katrina, which is innovation. And I'm very aware of time. So to be fair, business planning and revenue I knew would take me longer than the IGHT. So on innovation, I will be brief. And there is one thing mainly that I wanted to share on the point of innovation, but I've used a quote from an amazing entrepreneur to share the sentiment that I wanted to share with you today. So I don't know if you've come across this entrepreneur. He's called Danny Meyer. He has got amazing restaurants that he started in New York, but he's also the founder of Shake Shack, an incredible entrepreneur. And I listened to a Masters of Scale podcast this weekend in which Danny was the guest. And he said this about the topic of innovation, which I think really encapsulates for me what innovation for small business is all about. So in the words of Danny, innovation for me is never about inventing something that was never there. It's about how many discoveries did I store in my taste memory wherever, and then use that file cabinet and pull out those things and combine them at the right time, and maybe in a way that seems fresh, but really isn't. And all I wanted to share on this topic is, please don't think that innovation isn't for you because it's about inventing a new patent or coming up with some incredible new AI code. I do feel that Danny has sussed it here in terms of saying innovation is about taking lots of different influences from our experiences across a year, across a decade, and culminating in introducing something that feels fresh, but maybe isn't at the right time for your audience. So maybe just kind of ponder on that throughout 2025 is how do you keep yourself in a place where you can stay alive to new ideas and opportunities, and innovation comes at the point where you think it's the right time to introduce it. So Katrina, on to growth, and forgive me because I've mainly focused growth, which of course is a very wide topic, on the subject of how you raise and manage money. So this is a very financial point. But if you are thinking about raising funds in 2025, and again, a big philosophy we've always held at Enterprise Nation is if you can build a business on a budget, great. Please bootstrap for as long as possible. But it may come a time where you say, actually, to scale, to grow, we really do need to raise money and expertise that comes with it. So here's some thoughts. Startup loans you may have come across. They lend personal loans to individuals who are starting out in business. What I think will be big this year is CDFIs. Forgive me, I should have written that in full. It stands for Community Development Finance Institutions. They're very community-based lending. As a sector, they've just raised a whole load more money from the British Business Bank. And the money that they've raised is absolutely intended for small business recipients. So if you go onto a website called Responsible Finance, you can find out the CDFI in your area, and they essentially have now got a much bigger capacity to lend to small businesses. Angel investors, UK Business Angels Association is a great place to look for potential angels. My quick piece of advice on this, if you secure funding from an angel investor, ideally look at someone who can bring cash into the business, but also something else, whether it be industry expertise, contacts, so kind of look for money plus something else from an angel. 2024 saw the setup of something called the Invest in Women Task Force, and they reached a major milestone at the end of last year. They've raised 250 million, which will go to female founders. So if you want to find about more about that, Google Invest in Women Task Force, and you'll see about how those funds are going to be deployed. British Business Bank, if you just go onto their central finance finder, you can find how they deploy their money into lots of growth funds in different regions of the UK. Apologies to my island audience, that one wouldn't relate to you, so apologies for that one. So on to our next point, health. I'm going to be very brief on this because I think this is a very personal point in terms of having your own personal productivity plan of health in terms of what works for you. And the one point I wanted to make was the power of walking. So we will share these slides with those who have registered. So I won't read it out to you now, but I love the fact that Charles Darwin was a big champion of walking. And I love that in where he lived in Kent, he had what he called his thinking path. And each morning and each afternoon, if he had a problem on his mind, he would walk, he would think about it, and hopefully solve it. And I think the same can apply for small business owners. So very finally, on tech and talent, which is my final makeup of the bright business, I do think this is the year for digital adoption for small business, and Enterprise Nation is 100% behind you in terms of doing this. So we have a tech hub where you can go on for free and do a diagnostic and get lots of help on what tech to embed in your business and hopefully help on how to do it. But also the time for hiring great talent and then delegating to some star players. We have the Talent Hub that you can access to do that. Of course, whilst keeping an eye on new rules and regulations that are coming in from 2026, which is all part of the Labour government's plan called Make Work Pay. Again, you can see a letter from the Minister, Justin Madders, on our platform where he wrote to the Enterprise Nation community just to kind of give thoughts on what the government is looking at and how small businesses can prepare. So On to my next slide, please, Katrina. Of course, I would say this, but do surround yourself with support in 2025. There is so much available, and it's always a message we want to share with small businesses is wherever you look, there are support programs that will suit you. So please do make the most of them. And my very final slide, which is, I hope to see you. So I've done a very bad job of leaving time for questions because the clock has hit 12:30. So forgive me, I will look at your questions post this session and aim to get back to you. But I hope that that has been helpful in terms of, as I say, how you build a bright business, how you stay positive and in profit in 2025. And I would love to see you in person at Paternoster Square on the 25th of Jan, where all the things I've just covered will be on display with lots of top speakers covering them. So thank you everyone for joining me today. Happy New Year. And I really do hope that Enterprise Nation can support you in being positive and in profit in 2025. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.